Hey, what's up, guys? It's Will back once again for another UFC fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 139 or UFC Denver, the 25th anniversary show, obviously from Denver, Colorado, as the Korean Zombie faces off against El Pantera, Yair Rodriguez in the main event, with Donald Cerrone against Mike Platinum Perry in the co-main event. So some really good top-heavy fights. I actually prefer the Yair Rodriguez main event than Frankie Edgar. I think it's a lot better fight. I think it's going to be all action. I think we're in the season for fireworks, and this fight, I think, is going to be fireworks for however long it lasts. I think it's going to be a really solid top end of the card. The rest of the card's a little bit iffy. I think they've rushed a few fights in there. So yeah, but overall, I think it's going to be a really kind of solid event, celebrating the 25 years of the UFC is badass. So we're in Denver, high altitude. So that's something I've had to kind of take into consideration a little bit. Maybe people with depleted gas tanks. I've seen in other fights that may affect them if it goes long in these fights here. So interesting fight card to say the least. Coming off UFC 230, DC done what DC was always going to do, and that's just maul Derek Lewis. Chris Weidman. I bet Chris Weidman, and he was up in the judges' scorecard, and just the accumulation of bombs that he took really came back and got him in that third round. And interesting to see where Chris Weidman goes from here on out. But star of the show, I think, was Israel Adesanya. The guy looks good. The guy, I was a little bit slow in getting onto him. I think I picked him against him a few times. I see the talent the kid has now, and I think he's going to go a long way in that division. He's not far away from the top of that division either. As always, thank you to all the new subscribers. I got, I think, 10 to 15 from last week, which is awesome. If we can get that every week, it's pretty awesome. If we can get close to 100 likes every video, that'd be pretty awesome, just because I'm a stickler for when I see something like 95, 96, I'm like, oh, just get to 100. So yeah, but I appreciate all, I know a lot of you have sent me emails and just mail messages, because they know I've been kind of thinking maybe reining back on this. And I've kind of changed my tune about that a little bit, even though I looked at the schedule for 2019 and it's like 11 events in a row. And that's a lot of time to pin with that and my other podcast. And but I think I'm coming around to the fact that it's going to be hard for me to walk away from this, considering from where I started it 6 years ago or however long it was. So I appreciate all the support. I don't think you'll ever really know how much I really do appreciate it. But thank you. And like I said, we're going to get into this fight card right here, right now. And we're going to be starting in the flyweight division. Mark De La Rosa against Joby Sanchez. This was supposed to be Jordan Espinosa, who was making his UFC debut against Mark De La Rosa. But unfortunately, he pulled out and was replaced by Joby Sanchez, who is a guy that we kind of all know about. I thought that Espinosa De La Rosa fight was going to be a really kind of entertaining back and forward scrap. But once it kind of get changed up, I've kind of cemented my pick a little bit more with Mark De La Rosa. He is going to be my pick here. Starting off with Mark, I think that he's come into the UFC. He's given himself actually a fairly nice start to his UFC career, especially last time out where he went in there and looked decent, to be honest with you. I didn't think he looked all that bad. But ultimately, he came out with the win against Elias Garcia. I think that was a good kind of reintroduction to a lot of people, because against Tim Elliott, it's hard when you face a guy like Tim Elliott who's squirrely and it's just awkward to fight. But Elias Garcia was getting kind of a bit more of the hype coming off being the Pettis' cousin and coming off Dana White's show. And he showed that he's a very mixed martial arts was very well rounded, is what I'm trying to say, without splattering out everywhere. And showed that he's got a really kind of good technical game, got a really good technical ground game as well. I like that. And managed to get the finish. When flyweights get finishes, I think it's always a good thing. And I've seen once it goes to ground in other fights, I mean, you can watch his combat fights on, I think it's Fight Pass. They are rear naked chokes, arm triangle chokes. So the guy is very good when it goes to the ground. Joby Sanchez, on the other hand, I just don't know whether he's UFC caliber. I know he's been in the UFC a couple of times now. Got his opportunity in Dana White's show. beat Manny Vasquez, the guy I actually rate quite highly. I think he's a good fighter. JP Baez was another one. He got a ground and pound in the second round, but then he got his opportunity against Roberto Sanchez and kind of choked. And Roberto Sanchez came out there and kind of does what Roberto Sanchez does, is get you to the ground. And if you give yourself your back, he's going to get you, and he got him there. On the feet, I think he'll be competitive. I think he'll be a little bit back and forth. I think that De La Rosa is a quicker striker, a little bit more athletic striker. I think that Sanchez is a very technical striker coming from Mike Winklejohn. So I think eventually this fight's going to hit the ground. I think that De La Rosa can control him a little bit. Whether he stops him is another thing. I think the opportunity to stop him is there because, I mean, betting that Joby Sanchez gets finished in the UFC is not a bad bet, actually, because he's a couple of fights he's been in, he's got knocked out, got submitted. Do I go by a stoppage or go do by a decision? I'll go a decision for that one there. I'm going to go Mark De La Rosa to win via a decision. Sticking in the flyweight division, we have Joseph Bopo Morales against Eric Showtime Shelton. This was the fight that got put together really, really quick as well. And I think it's a close fight. I really do. I think it's a very close back and forward fight. The way to beat Eric Shelton is establishing takedowns and just getting that. If you can get many a takedown on this guy, you can most definitely beat him. If you look at his record on, let me see. If you take this guy down numerous times, you win the fight. So Alec Perez last time out took him down 5 times, won the fight. Jared Brooks 5 times, won the fight. Alexandre Pantoja took him down. Shelton had more takedowns in that one, but still lost the fight via split. Very close fight, actually. And then his one fight that he has won in the UFC, he had 5 takedowns, but that was against a Filipino boxer and Janelle Lauser. I think the striking matches up fairly decent. I think Shelton is the better striker from what I've seen. But I do think that if it goes to the ground, I think Morales is the better grappler, submission grappler. And yeah, I think it's a close fight. I wouldn't be betting this fight, honestly. I think the lines were at, I think I saw it last night, it's like -110 a piece, or -105 to -115. So it's a very close fight, a pick 'em fight. But like I said, on the feet, I think that Joseph Morales can do enough to get this to the ground. If he can get it to the ground, I think he starts to just dominate Eric Shelton down there. And I think that's kind of where I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go decision win for Joseph Morales. Moving on, lightweight division. Jesus Christ. Davi Ramos against John Gunther. I'm picking Davi Ramos. John Gunther could possibly be the worst fighter in the UFC. Guy gets hit a lot, but the guy has mad heart. And he keeps on coming. The guy's tough and he keeps on coming. But I just don't think he's that good. I really don't. And the guy's crazy. Like, seriously crazy. I've been trying to think, where does he have the advantage in this one? I don't think he can outstrike Davi Ramos. He certainly can't outgrapple Davi Ramos. He doesn't want to go anywhere near the ground with this guy, because if he does, he's going to get his neck taken and he's going to get submitted, or he's going to get his arm taken, he's going to get submitted. I think if they clinch up, I think if I was Davi Ramos, I would instantly look to maybe pull guard, or even jump into like a guillotine choke and see if you can catch this guy, because I think he just bosses this. I think the line's way off. Sorry, the line is where it should be, but it could be even higher. I think it's like -900. It should be higher. I don't give John Gunther, I give him very little chance to, not unless he catches him with a shot, but I don't see it. Davi Ramos in his last fight against Nick Hines showed that if you go to the ground with this guy and he gets a top position, or really any position on the ground, you're going to be in deep, deep trouble. And I've been impressed. Even the Grutzmacher one, it was a little bit slow in parts, but he got the finish. Sergio Moraes one, I thought he gave a decent account of himself. He wins this fight wherever it goes. So I'm going to go Davi Ramos submission. I'm going to go round number 1. I think it finds a way to the ground, and he wins that fight there. Lightweight division. Devonte Smith against Julian Erosa. This fight got made on Friday, I believe. So serious, like, short time to get ready for this fight here. And it's an interesting fight. It really is. I think that Devonte Smith, we've seen on the Dana White show that the guy's got big power, very athletic. I'm still a bit... I question his gas tank a little bit. I question his ground game a lot. I think that, but in saying that, his only loss in his fight career is to John Gunther. John Gunther took this guy out. And that's a little bit of a red kind of flag for me, but I don't know. Every guy kind of has their day, and maybe that was just a fight early on in his career against a guy who is tough. Saying that, it was only just like a year and a half ago that happened. So, but what we have seen with Devonte Smith is the guy has got superpower, very athletic, and if you give him the opportunity to strike, and you're trading back and forth, you're running the risk of getting knocked out with this guy. But I've got a big gripe with it. I don't think his ground game's all that good. I really don't. I think against an experienced grappler, he will get taken down. I think he will get picked on. I think he will get laid on, and then he will get submitted. And I think that is. But I'm trying to think. Is this the time where that's going to happen? Now, this is a big fight for Julian Erosa because this is his second stint in the UFC. He came out there against Jamal Amos, and I saw a lot of people talking mad shit about Julian Erosa, how he was going to get taken out by Jamal Amos. And Amos is a good fighter, don't get me wrong, but he went out there, head kick, knocked him out in the second round, and he got the contract. Like the fact that he's moved to Vegas full time, he's got better coaching, better sparring partners than he did in Washington. He's got the PI there, which I'm sure he's using to his advantage. Anybody, if you're in that region, fighter-wise, you have to be using it. If you're with the UFC, you have to be using that Performance Institute because it's absolutely amazing from everything you read and you see about it and the fighters say about it. And like I said, this is his second stint, but we have seen him knocked out before, which is something that we have to be a little bit curious with here because Artem Lobov caught him, Teruto Ishihara caught him. That was at 145. This is at 155, so the depletion to getting down to 155 will not be as much as it was to his previous weight. Faced Paddy Pimblett, which was a recognisable name over here in the UK. Could have been a little bit unlucky not getting that fight, if we're being honest there. So, yeah, I'm kind of struggling to pick this fight a little bit because I do think that Julian Erosa is a live fighter. Yeah, I think that he's got an opportunity. Do I go with him or do I go with Smith via knockout? When I was doing my MMA Huddle podcast last night, I was picking Devonte Smith. In fact, I'm going to pick Devonte Smith. I'm going to stick with my first gut feeling when I heard the fight, when I watched some fights. But I think that Julian Erosa is a live fighter here. I really do. I think he's got an opportunity. If this goes into the second and third, I think he's got an opportunity to take out Devonte Smith. Do a pick. See, I'm kind of questioning this pick. This is going to go... I'm going to pick Devonte Smith. I'm sticking with my original pick, but it's going to my not confident list. I don't think... if this fight goes into the later part of the fight, I think Erosa can and will take him out, pretty much. I think he could definitely do that, but I'm going to stick with my pick and go Devonte Smith, which was knockout in the first round. But like I say, I'm not overly confident. I just think he might catch Erosa with something and put him down. Moving on, we have Beneil Dariush against Thiago Moises. And this is an interesting fight to me. It really is, because I want to know where Beneil Dariush really kind of is and what he is. I know he's opened his new gym. He's been getting that going, but the guy hasn't won a UFC fight in over 2 years now. And the amount of damage he's taken in those 2 years is substantial, without a shadow of a doubt. Competitive fight with Edson Barboza. Close. Flying knee. Brutal knockout. That takes a lot out of your fight career, I think, getting knocked out like that. Evan Dunham started off really well. Faded. Evan Dunham came into that one. Took a lot of punishment late on in that fight. Alexander Hernandez he just got cold cocked on that one and got absolutely. That was a nasty knockout. I mean, that's a lot of damage in those 3 fights alone. But what is Dariush good at? He's a good technical fighter. Beautiful, hard, heavy leg kicks, and great jiu-jitsu. I think he's got one of these really good grip strengths that if he gets an opportunity to get an arm around your neck or to just lock in a submission, I think he's got one of those really vice-like grips. Not that we've seen it overly much. I mean, Tony Martin, Darren Cruikshank, that's pretty much the only times we've seen it, but I do think he's got that. When you watch some of his jiu-jitsu matches and you can see that he is fluent on the ground. That some of them were losses that I watched right enough, but that's against guys who do jiu-jitsu full-time. So yeah, Thiago Moises, a UFC newcomer here, but a guy I've known about for a long time through the LFA, RFA promotion way back. He was in 5-round fights back in there, and he was pulling off like helicopter style like submissions where he was kicking people up and catching them in submissions. I can't remember who that was against. A way back in the day, it was maybe Dave Castillo, I think. Might have been. Beat Jamal Emmers. That was late on in the 5th round as well of a title fight, so that's something to take into consideration. Lost to Robert Watley's a guy who's out there. I think he fights in the PFL, and I think he's a really decent fighter as well. And yeah, a decent fighter. I think that on the Dana White show, you've seen that he's got the head kick, and he followed up with punches, and I think that was when you watch some of those fights that you can definitely see where the UFC wants to get these guys to kind of push into the UFC, because I don't think the matchmaking was overly that good with Kutis that he faced, a guy that I think he had a lot more experience with. And it kind of showed in that first round, and he took him out there. I'm just interested to see where Beneil Dariush is. I'm going to pick him because I do think that when he puts all together, the guy is one of the best in the lightweight division. I think he's a perennial top 10 guy once he puts it all together. You've seen that in the fight with Rashid Magomedov, where he was clinical, very technical. If he gets back to that here, I think that Thiago Moises is going to... Thiago Moises will kind of struggle a little bit. I'm going to go Beneil Dariush for your decision. Moving on. Chaz Skelly against Bobby Moffett. Interesting fight here. A really interesting fight. Before I started looking into who these fighters were, I instantly kind of thought, right, Chaz Skelly. I really like watching Chaz Skelly fight for the simple reason he's a scrapper, like his nickname says. A really, really scrappy guy who, since he's been in the UFC, he's definitely made progressions with his game. He's always been a guy to try and push against the cage, grind you out, get you to the ground. Guy's got some good submission skills. He showed that early on against Nina Maki, Kevin Souza. He got a submission there. Who else was there? Blanco. He caught that submission in the first 20-odd seconds in that fight, and then he beat Gritzmacher. And they're not top names, to say the least. But he still went in there, got the job done, and has looked better in doing so. His striking's got better. I think he's working with Henry Hoof down in Florida. So yeah, I think that he is a decent fighter, and he's a tough guy to face. Coming off a loss though to Jason Knight, and Jason Knight cannot win a UFC fight to save his life at the minute. He cannot win a fight, and he got knocked out in that one in the 3rd round. Coming off some big surgery as well, which is interesting. I remember going and looking at it, and it was a major surgery, and this is the first time in a year and a half that he's back. It's interesting to see how that affects him here. Bobby Moffett, it's a guy that another one that's came through Dana White's show that I thought looked great in his fight on Dana White's show, but I thought his opponent had no right kind of being in that kind of arena at that time. He was a young 22, 23-year-old guy. You could see once it went to the ground, he was like a fish out of water, had no clue what to do. And Moffett recognised that. Once he went in the 2nd round, even when he was sitting on the stool, Kilburn was like, you could see there was no fighting him. He didn't know what to do. He never had a plan B. And like literally a minute into that fight, he submitted and that one there. And he's a guy, Bobby Moffett's a guy, actually, when you look at him, I think that he can win this fight. When you go back and watch some of his fights, I know he's been knocked out by Tan Lee, Rihanna Barcelos. I think especially, but I think Barcelos is a really good fighter, actually. But Tan Lee, he caught in that when it happens. But this guy comes from the MMA lab, legit gym. Benson Henderson's a coach. John Crouch is a coach. And it's just a really, really solid camp to come from. Great guys on the mat as well. This guy looks like he's got wrestling and very, very, very good jiu-jitsu. Striking, I think that he could get to Chaz Skelly. I don't think Skelly is the polished, finished striker. I think he's probably going to go as high as he ever will do with his striking. But it's like, is it the experience of Chaz Skelly or the youthful and Moffett's not a young guy. He's like 27, 28 years old. But I think he's a really solid fighter in this matchup. I think if Bobby Moffett was matched with someone else, I think I maybe be looking elsewhere. But I'm going to pick Bobby Moffett in this one. I think that Skelly can fade a little bit. I think if he can't get the takedown on Bobby Moffett, which I'm not sure he can, I think he's really going to struggle. And I think that Moffett has the jiu-jitsu to stop Skelly if it does get to the ground. If it gets back up, then I think it comes a little bit shaky for Chaz Skelly, honestly. And then I can see Moffett taking him down, looking for submissions, looking for Darce chokes, rear naked chokes. I think that Bobby Moffett is a live fighter here. I think there's a few people that I've seen that have went out and bet him. I don't think I'm going to go that far and bet him, but I am going to pick him in this one. I think once Skelly starts to realise that maybe he can't get this guy down or get him down as much as he can and control him, I think he could be in for a little bit of world hurt a little bit, and Bobby Moffett could continue to just win this fight, I think, through his endurance altogether. So I'm going to go Bobby Moffett. I'm going to go by a decision, but it could go to a split. But I prefer picking Bobby Moffett in this kind of play here. Moving on, we have Ashley Yoder against Amanda Cooper. Two girls who really probably shouldn't be in the UFC. I think if they lose this fight, they won't be in the UFC. And for me, I'm going to pick Ashley Yoder here. I think that Amanda Cooper, she talks a good game, but I just don't think she's that great of a fighter, honestly. I think that she's got boxing skills, but she doesn't really show it. And you look at her wins in the UFC. I mean, Angela Magana, Anna Elmos. I mean, Anna's retired. Magana's trash. Her losses, to be fair, are to good girls, even outside the UFC. Aspen Ladd, Tatiana Suarez, she's going to hold a belt one day. Calvillo is dangerous on the ground. And Mackenzie Dern missed weight big time in that fight. But although she's not the greatest fighter in the world, she's got some big, heavy hands, and she showed that. And then she locked up the rear naked choke in that one. Ashley Yoder, they call her the spider monkey. I think that's what she's going to want to do here. I think she can control Amanda Cooper on the ground. If she can get takedowns, I think she can actually keep it very competitive on the feet. And to herself, in her 3 fights she's shown in the UFC, that she fights hard, she gets the decision, she doesn't get finished. And she had an opportunity, actually. She maybe could have won that fight against Mackenzie Dern last time out back in March. For me, I just like picking Ashley Yoder over Amanda Cooper. I think Amanda Cooper deserves to be in somewhere like Invicta, build her up again, and then maybe 2 or 3 years down the line, kind of what they're doing with Pel Gonzalez down there. If you go down there and win some fights, gain some confidence, you might get back to the UFC. And I like that kind of what they're doing with some of the girls, sending them back down there. I think Jamie Moyle gets sent back down. Viviana Pereira went down there. Build them up and maybe bring them back in the future. I'm going to go Ashley Yoder via a decision. I'm not looking forward to the fight, honestly. But I'm going to pick her to win that one there. I'm just going to switch on a light, guys, because I just realised it's getting dark here. It's like 4:30 and the darkness is setting in. I'm going to put on a light, so give me 1 second. Sorry about this. I should have put it on beforehand. There we go. Apologies about that. Okay. Moving on to the main card, actually. We are going to start off in the lightweight division. If my computer decides to work, there we go, with Mike Trizano against the violent Bob Ross, Luis Pena. This is an interesting fight, and it's been a fight that's been garnering a bit of kind of interest on Reddit, on just some of the forums that I look at, Twitter especially, I've put in both guys' names, and people are really really heavy on Luis Pena here, and I'm not one of those people. Honestly, I think this is a good fight to make. I think it's a close fight. 7-0 Mike Trizano against 5-0 Luis Pena. Both guys are on Ultimate Fighter show. Luis Pena obviously had to pull out with injury. Trizano went on to win the show, beating Joe Giannetti in the final. Starting off with Luis Pena, when you go back and watch all of his fights outside the UFC, did well, won the fights fairly convincingly from a small camp. He's moved to a bigger camp now at AKA. And then I think he got the easiest possible fight you can get in the UFC when he got Richie Smullen, who I don't think is that great a fighter at all. And kind of showed that he was a level above what Richie Smullen even was at that time, and get him out there very, very quick. He's a guy that's got Kimuras out in the Kimura submissions, rear naked choke submissions out, and back in his kind of regional days. He's a guy I've seen actually knocked out in the amateurs. I think he lost a couple of fights in the amateurs. Where Mike Trizano, he won 6 or 7 fights. So Mike Trizano's got, and I've seen people say here, but he's got the more experience, and he's got more amateur fights, he's got more professional fights, so he is the more experienced fighter. And he's undefeated. He's literally undefeated as an amateur, undefeated as a pro, undefeated on Ultimate Fighter. So that guy carries a hell of a lot of confidence, and a guy that he's been on the I don't want to say the big shows, but he's been in bigger organizations than what Luis Pena is. Luis Pena's come off the regional straight into the UFC, a lot of hype behind him. Guy's got a serious, like, crazy reach, crazy height for that division. So yeah, it's an interesting fight. For me, Mike Trizano, I think, is the more well-rounded fighter. I think he's the better striker. I like the fact, I love his gym. I'm a big fan of the Tiger Schulman gym. You've seen them at UFC 230 where like 3 of the fighters were fighting. They went 2-1. Julio Arce still showed that he's a very dangerous guy. He will be a dangerous guy. In that one, he lost to Shimon Moraes, who it's one of the guys that gets no respect, and showed in that one. But that means he's been training with great fighters who were fight ready. Lyman Good, Shane Burgos, Julio Arce, Jimmy Rivera as well. So I mean, he's been getting ready with good quality UFC fighters, coming from a great gym. Obviously, Pena's been over there at AKA. He'll be getting great training. Maybe not as great training or specialized training as what Trizano gets. From what I believe, the Schulman brothers focus on the fighter one at a time, put a lot of time into their guys, where AKA is a bigger gym, more stash of DCs and Rock Cold, who had that fight scheduled for 230 before pulling out. I'm just interested to see this fight. I really am, and I don't agree with the betting line whatsoever. I think that Mike Trizano is just... I could be wrong. I could actually be really wrong. I think both guys are going to be good. They're going to be good UFC caliber fighters. But right now, I just think Mike Trizano is the better, more well-rounded guy. Now, not saying that Luis Pena's not, because I think he's very dangerous. He's got a lot of tools at his disposal. But I just like Mike Trizano to keep it close in every facet. I see this being a close fight. I don't see it being dominant for one guy. I'd be surprised if it is, honestly. I'm going to go Mike Trizano to win via decision there. I think he's plus 300. Honestly, I'm thinking about betting him. I really am. I'm thinking about having a little shot on him and see if he pulls through. It's one of the ones that I looked at. I was like, that's a little bit off. So Mike Trizano via split decision win there. Women's strawweight division, Maycee Barber against Hannah Cifers. This was going to be a squash match if Maya Stevenson, who was scheduled to fight Maycee Barber, was going to stick in this fight. But she pulled out. Hannah Cifers came in, and it's a better fight, a tougher fight. We'll start off with Hannah Cifers here, who's an 8-2 fighter who fights out, I think it's Illinois she fights out of. North Carolina, sorry. I wrote some notes down in that. And I mean, 2 losses to 2 girls who won fights in the UFC, and Gillian Robertson and Heather Clark, who I don't think she's in the UFC. No, she's not in the UFC anymore. She's in Invicta, but she won a fight in the UFC. So good experience. And I think she's a really good fighter. I really do. I think that her last 2 wins over Callie Robbins and Celine Haga, who I think is on the Tough show right now. Her last 2 wins have been very comprehensive. First round finishes. She was an amateur K1 champion growing up. And I think she's got a lot to offer in this fight. Really good, solid Muay Thai. I think she's very, very limited on the ground, though. But I think that her takedown defense, from what I've seen, looks okay. I mean, out of her 8 wins, she's got 5 knockouts. That's pretty decent for a female fighter. But like I said, solid defense. I think she can be exploited on the ground. I don't think she's overly quick, but she's super, super technical. She's got some really good tools in her tool belt. She's got nice chopping leg kicks. She has nice combinations. And the girl hits really, really hard. Really hard with her punches. So that's something that Maycee Barber has to really keep an eye on in this fight, and don't get hit with those clubbing shots, because she has got big, big shots. She's got great knees in the clinch, great elbows, just a really good, solid Muay Thai striker, really good fighter with big power for a woman. That's saying something. I think she could be a top 15 girl in that division. How does she kind of match up with Maycee Barber? Well, Barber, I think, is a really good fighter herself. I think she's very solid. She's very quick. I think she is the more athletic fighter here. She's the more quicker and the more athletic girl, definitely. I think her striking is decent herself. I think she has an overall better game. I think she has takedowns. I think she has a submission game. But Cifers is definitely more technical, and she's definitely a stronger girl than what Barber is. Well, Barber, athletic and quicker, pretty much. I think it's a tough fight to call. I really do. The betting line's off in this one, in my opinion. But I think when I look at the two girls, I look at who's the more well-rounded fighter. Of course, the fight starts on the feet. Cifers might have the advantage with her technical ability there. But I think if Maycee can find a way to get it to the ground, like I said, Cifers has got fairly decent takedown defense from what I've seen, that she could maybe start to smother her a little bit in the ground and maybe look for a submission or maybe a TKO finish. I think I saw the line at like plus 400 for Hannah Cifers. Ooh, that's not a bad bet at all. I think this fight maybe should be close to a pick'em, actually, I think. I'm going to go Maycee Barber to win via... I'm going to go TKO in the third. But I think Cifers is a very, very, very live fighter here. I really do. But yeah, I am going to go with Maycee Barber via a third round TKO there. Moving on, flyweight division. This fight really piques my interest on many, many levels. And I'm going to start with Ray Borg. It's Joseph Benavidez against Ray Borg. I just want to literally give my it's been hard on social media to sit back and see Ray Borg and what he's had to go through with that son of his, which is horrible. He's had so many surgeries. He's only like 7, 8, 9 months old. And he's just had such a rough time. He had the McGregor incident back in April, and that's just rough for any guy. And then he's got a fight scheduled here against Joseph Benavidez. And I think if this was a fight that was put together where there was no background stuff going on, there was nothing with the families, I think Ray Borg should be probably a favourite. Joseph Benavidez last time out did not look good at all. I think he looked as rusty we've ever seen him. I think the guy only loses to really good fighters. I think he's a better fighter, honestly, than Sergio Pettis. He just didn't show it in that fight there, and looked rusty. He did look rusty. He looked coming off an injury. He didn't look great. But the guy is probably the second best guy in that division. Now that Demetrius is gone, which is really bad, but it is what it is. He's beat the champion. That was controversial. Could have went either way there. He wins his fight. He puts himself right in line for a title shot, depending on what Cejudo's doing. There's talk about him versus Dillashaw in January. So who knows what's going to go on with that. The reason, now, Ray Borg is a great fighter. Let's not get it twisted. He's a really solid, good fighter. We've seen that. He went down to Brazil, beat Juicy Formiga in Brazil, took him down, had moments where he controlled that fight. His striking looked better since he's been at Jackson Wink. He looks like he's improved as an overall fighter. For me in this one here, I think that Benavidez, he can wrestle with him. I think that he can control him a little bit if he wants to, but Ray Borg is great with reversals, takedowns himself, so that's something that I see this being a close fight, honestly, but I'm going to pick Joseph Benavidez based on, I think his skills are still super good. I don't think he's declining all that much. I just thought he looked very, very rusty against Sergio Perez. And Ray Borg, like, I'm not trying to make too much out of it, but like what that guy's been going home to, or not even home to, because he's had to move. He's not been training at Jackson Wink for this. He's been in Denver where his son's been getting surgeries and so on. So I don't know who he's sparring with, who's actually coaching him, and how much sparring and how much coaching has he actually put in. Because I know my story's different. I had a son. I lost my son. I think his 4-year anniversary comes up next week. And I know what that took out of me as a person, losing my son. And I know his son is still here, and God willing that the little boy gets better, because I really do. But I know how much those certain things take out of you as a person, a family. It is tough. It really is. And I put that with, I don't think there's no way he could be doing as near as much sparring, getting better in the gym as he could be, and facing one of the top 3 guys and 2 or 3 guys in that division. I just think it's a little bit too much for him at this point in his life. I hope I'm wrong. I'd love him to get in there and win a fight for his little boy, but I feel more confident in picking Joseph Benavidez with some of the extra factors thrown in. I do think he actually is just as good a fighter as what Ray Borg is, with a couple of subtle little differences and so on. And he's a grizzled veteran. I want to say good luck to the Borg family. I bought your T-shirt for your little man, so it's only a little donation, but still the money went there, and I'm really happy that I did a little something there. And hopefully your little boy, like I said, I pray for your little boy. Hopefully he gets better. I really do. I send up good vibes. Send you good vibes for him. But I'm going to pick Joseph Benavidez. Sorry to go into a tangent with that one. I'm going to pick him via decision, but sorry, we're kind of walking into that a little bit and going into some stuff that's not fight related, but still fight related. I'm picking Joseph Benavidez. Women's bantamweight division: Raquel Rocky Pennington against Germain Randamie. I don't think if this fight wasn't in Denver, I don't think Raquel Pennington fights in this one. I really don't. I think that the lure of fighting at home, like it would for anybody, is there for everybody to see. And she's got Germain Randamie here, who I didn't think, honestly, we were going to ever see in the UFC again after winning the belt, ducking Cyborg. She can say what she wants. She ducked Cyborg, didn't want to fight her, got the belt taken off her, and now she's moved back down to 135. And yeah, Rocky Pennington's coming off a title fight back in May against Amanda Nunes. And the one big thing I took away from that fight is she wanted to quit on the stool. I thought she was a bit tougher than that, but obviously Amanda Nunes had taken it out of her, and she realised she wasn't going to win the fight. And there's no harm in wanting to quit on the stool. If you don't think you're going to win the fight, you're going to take exceeded damage, like the Dave Branch, Luke Rockhold situation, which is something that I always think people say, oh, he's a quitter and he's this and that. It's like, well, if you had Luke Rockhold with his massive ground game and him on top of you pounding away and you're taking unnecessary damage, would you not do the same? I just didn't like what I seen from Rocky on the stool. Like, she had an opportunity that I still think she had an opportunity to go out there and potentially beat Amanda Nunes. It would have been a kind of long shot to do so, but she still had the opportunity to do that, and in a title fight as well. And I didn't really like that, what I seen. I think on the feet, Germain is definitely the more technical, better striker. I think that Rocky has to make this a brawl. I think she has to try and look for potentially getting this to the ground. She's quite a strong girl with her grappling. I don't want to say with her grappling. I just think she's a little bit unorthodox. I mean, she had the bulldog choke always comes to mind. She kind of controlled Miesha Tate. That was kind of at the end of her career as well. But wins over like Betchko here don't really do an awful lot for me. When you look at fighters and stuff like that, but I don't know. Elevation. I mean, she trains out of Denver, so that's maybe going to help her go hard for the 15 minutes. I think Germain Randamie, she's longer, she's bigger, she can fight at a distance, and that means Rocky's going to have to come in. I think she can get eaten up with kind of counter strikes. Yeah, I think you see where I'm going with this one. I'm going to go Germain Randamie. Rocky, I suppose, could be a very kind of live dog in this one, but yeah, I'm going to go to Randamie via decision there. Co-main event of the night: Donald Cowboy Cerrone against Mike Platinum Perry. This is an interesting fight. There's a little bit of bad blood with this one. Obviously, there was the whole Cerrone Jackson Wink thing that's kind of been going down recently. Mike Perry's come into Jackson Wink, who's maybe put his nose out of joint and some people's nose out of joint. Like, he released a video last week of him looking for the Cowboy, and it was a little bit. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but at the same time, I thought it was funny, funny-ish. But yeah, I think this is an interesting fight to see where we're at with this fight, because Donald Cerrone, I think it's fairly obvious to say he's at his tail end of his career. He's at he's kind of at that point where he's ready to drop off, facing these high caliber guys. It's just, to me, is Mike Perry one of those high caliber guys? The one thing with Donald Cerrone is he's not good with pressure fighters. That is shown. Darren Till, Jorge Masvidal pressured him. If you go back like 5-6 years ago, Anthony Pettis, Rafael dos Anjos 2016. If you pressure Cowboy and put him in a pocket where you can get this guy, you can take him out with ease. I like the fact that I thought he looked all right in the Leon Edwards fight. I think that Edwards is a top 15 guy, and it was a close fight. I think he had an opportunity to actually win that fight if some of the rounds just kind of changed a little bit. One round could have determined that fight pretty much. And on my podcast, MMA Huddle podcast last night, I actually picked Donald Cerrone. And the reason I did was because I still think that Mike Perry is very... I keep seeing things saying that he's changed as a fighter and he's going to be a different fighter in there. I don't see that at all. I think Mike Perry is the type of guy, he could say all these things, but once he gets in the cage, he's still the same Mike Perry who's going to do the same thing, and that's barrel forward and try and knock you out. I don't think he will sit back, counter strike. I think he's an aggressor. He will always be an aggressive fighter. And I think once that cage door closes, I think that he's one-trap mind. He's got to knock out, pressure, knockout. And he's shown that in the past. I mean, the Danny Roberts fight, pressure, high pressure, won that fight via knockout. Hyung Gu Lim, pressure, won that fight. Then he had Jake Ellenberger, meh. Alex Reyes, meh. But then, like, Max Griffin fought an absolute... When you go back and watch that fight, it's an absolute masterclass from Max Griffin. But what I like about Felder, and then obviously Mike Perry went in there and beat Paul Felder on kind of short notice at UFC 226 back in July. But Max Griffin in that fight fought perfect, tied him up, kind of tired Mike Perry out. He was swinging at air, and that was one of the kind of bigger upsets of the year was Max Griffin beating Mike Perry. And I think that Mike Perry's still a one-dimensional guy, but he is extremely good at it. His pressure and his knockout power. But you look at his losses that he's had. Obviously, I went on about the Griffin one, which I just think was a great game plan for Mike Perry. Ponzinibbio, too aggressive, got picked apart against Ponzinibbio, who is just, I think, could be a top 5 guy. You look at the Alan Jouban fight. Alan Jouban picked him apart with leg kicks. Got back, got out the road of like what Mike Perry was showing, like surging forward, moving, using angles. And I think that Cowboy can use that to his advantage. I think if Cowboy wants to win this fight, he needs to fight smart. You can't engage with Mike Perry, because if you do, he's going to eat shots and he's going to get taken out. Technically, I think pretty much every aspect, Cowboy is a better fighter. I think he's the better striker. I think he's definitely he's always had underrated jiu-jitsu, underrated wrestling. But it's whether he can stop the pressure of Mike Perry and get his own offense off. I'm not sure. I'm honestly, I don't know. I don't know. I was with. This is the fight I've been flip-flopping on the most. Last night was Cowboy. Today I watched a couple of Mike Perry fights. I went back to Mike Perry because his pressure. You know what? I'm going to go with my gut pick on this. I'm going to take a shot on Cowboy. I feel that maybe Mike Perry comes in, maybe pressures, could potentially put Cowboy down, maybe enters his guard, and then maybe gets caught in a submission. And that we'll see the kind of old Cowboy once again, because he has been kind of tailing off. I think I'm probably going to take a little bit of slack for this pick, but I'm willing to take an underdog shot on Donald Cerrone in this one. Let's see if Mike Perry can he might come in here, might change it up a little bit. Like I say, a lot of people are going to go with Perry. I've seen a lot of people betting Perry and so on. I don't think I'll bet Cowboy, but I'm going to pick him. I'm going to take an underdog shot on Donald Cerrone one more time, stop the pressure, try and pick him apart a little bit, and if you can, maybe get a stoppage. It's going to be hard. I realise this is kind of like a Hail Mary pick, and I don't see too many other predictors out there maybe picking Donald Cerrone, but I'll give it a bash for one time and see how we're going. So Donald Cowboy Cerrone, I'm going to go submission. Round number 2, arm triangle choke for the Cowboy there. And the main event of the night, we have the Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung against Yair Rodriguez in an extremely fun scrap. My dog's just came back from a walk, so very, very excited doggy. But yeah, great fight. Really looking forward to this one. 2 big pressure fighters on the feet who are extremely dangerous and extremely exciting. So when you look at Chan Sung Jung, obviously you look at the 5 years that he's been off, and you look at what he has kind of shown in that return. We've only got one fight to talk about since his return, and that was Dennis Bermudez, who is always there to be hit at. And if you pop that guy with a jab, you can knock him down pretty much. When you look at Rodriguez, I think we've seen how you beat that guy. You stop him by staying on the feet, you get him to the ground, you make sure that you pressure him, you keep him there. What Frankie Edgar did. I picked Yair in that fight. I thought it was the time to maybe move on, because I thought Frankie was close to maybe falling off. I didn't know that Ortega was going to be that guy, and he was. But Yair Rodriguez I thought at that time had a great opportunity, showed that he didn't. Now, he's had a kind of weird year and a half since he last fought Frankie Edgar. He got cut from the UFC, remember, for not taking fights, pretty much. Was supposed to fight to beat Magomed Sharipov, got cut, then got brought back. I thought he would have had a fight before this, being honest, but he's been put in there with the Korean Zombie. Everybody keeps going on about Korean Zombie. He's been only one fight in 5 years, and he got knocked out by Aldo, and I was like, no, I really don't think he would have got knocked out by Aldo in that fight if he didn't blow his shoulder out, which he did. But the guy's had some serious injuries. I mean, the shoulder injury, the last injury I think it was a knee injury. So it's been a rough kind of time for him. But the guy's only 31, so he might be kind of coming close into his fighting prime the last couple of years. If you're new at the sport and you're new to these predictions, if you've never seen Chan Sung Jung's fights before, from years ago against Leonard Garcia, which is probably my favourite fight of all time, or one of them. Even his second fight against Leonard Garcia, the Twister submission, the fight with Mark Komenik, which he starched him in 10 seconds. The fight with Dustin Poirier was an absolute war. That was way back in 2012. That's crazy. I started doing my predictions right about then. That's a crazy time. And that was a great fight. Caught him in a darce in the 4th round of a back and forth brawl. Obviously lost to Aldo and then beat Bermudez. So he's only had 2 fights in like 5.5 years, but he obviously had the military thing that he had to do over there in Korea. But a super exciting fighter, a super dangerous fighter in many, many aspects. And he's facing a guy in Yair who himself is super exciting, very dangerous on the feet, puts some crazy combinations together, crazy flying kicks. Yeah, and it's, what I like about this as well, he's fought at altitude before. He fought against Alex Caceres in a main event over the 25 minutes, won a split there, and went pretty hard for the 25 minutes of that fight. So, and you've seen that his gas tank kind of keeps up as well. Beat BJ Penn. Yeah, that's BJ Penn. Beat Frankie, lost to Frankie Edgar via TKO in the second there. Got dominated, got bashed upon. But we all know where this guy's good at. In open space, throwing crazy, crazy strikes. We've seen the Feely one. I can see that coming. That sound, I still think about the sound that Yair hit him with. That was crazy. It was actually a really good night, that, because he had a lot of fans from Mexico. And but yeah, getting back to the fight, it's interesting because I think this could be fireworks, and I think it will be fireworks. I think they'll come out throwing a lot of flashy strikes. I think Korean Zombie will want to get in close and punish him up close. Where I think that Yair will want to throw obviously those flashy strikes, but I think he needs to kind of set them up better. I think he needs to use his hands to set up his kicks a lot more. I think he is the quicker fighter. He's the more technical fighter. I think that the bigger striker is probably Zombie. But I'm not really sure. The one thing I'm kind of interested with the 1 year layoff, or 1.5 year layoff for Yair, is what has he been doing and what has he been improving at. I've looked at his Instagram. He's went around certain gyms all over the world. So I'm guessing he's getting taught by the best coaches, maybe getting new things with his jiu-jitsu as well, from what I've seen. I'm going to go with Yair Rodriguez. I feel more confident picking Yair, and it's tough because everybody loves the Korean Zombie. I mean, everybody loves that guy's like a not cultural hero, just like an MMA kind of hero from years ago. They used to bring out T-shirts of him, and he's only really been knocked out the one time. George Roop caught him with a beautiful, beautiful head kick, knocked him out. I'm going to go Yair via stoppage in the late part of this fight, rounds 3, round 4. I think he catches him with a flashy strike and puts him down. Yeah. And I think he was a massive underdog. He's been bet down a lot. He's a guy I've been thinking about betting, honestly. I still might do that, but I'm not entirely sure yet. Yeah, I'm going to pick Yair Rodriguez via stoppage in the 4th round. If not, I think he might ride out a decision as well. So that's my picks for UFC Fight Night 139, UFC Denver. We're back next week for UFC's first jaunt to Buenos Aires in Argentina. They're going down back into South America with that. Neil Magny against Santiago Ponzinibbio is our main event. Fun fight card. I think Calvillo's back against Paulina Botelho. Good fight. Interesting fight between Brazares and Fabinski. Got some British guys on there. Tom Breeze against Ferreira. Good fight. Narimani's on there, which is I've always been a fan of Narimani. Pantoja as well. So I'm looking forward to that fight card next week. Until then, please like, comment, subscribe, let me know your picks. If you've got bets for this card, drop them down below and we'll maybe have a little chat about that. But as always, I appreciate your support. Thank you. Enjoy the fight card when it comes around next week, and all the best.